Good morning, everyone. This is Joy and Jerry again this morning. Today is the
Ooh, I forgot to look at the date. 28th?
28th, yes it is, 28th of
October.
2023. And today we are in Proverbs again. This is chapter 28, verses 1 through 14. Believe it or not, we actually did this last Sunday, and we got all the way through this whole study of this, and the camera just died and erased everything that we had just done. So we just kind of gave up on it.
And the battery was still half full. We do not know what happened, but we're using the same camera again. So we just pray.
Again, but
whatever went wrong, it's cured. And we can get this online today.
Yeah. Anyway, we apologize for that, but it was just one of those things that we couldn't help. Anyway, hopefully God will see to it that this thing goes through all the way and we don't have to redo it again. Anyway,
Proverbs 28.
I'm reading out of King James Version, Joy reading out of the New Living Bible, so we will commence.
The Old Living Bible. Is there a New Living Bible?
Well,
I know there's a New King James and a New American Standard, but I think this is just one living version.
that's where it stops, is the
Yeah.
Living Bible. You can't
Yeah.
get much plainer than that one is.
That's a truth, Ruth.
Anyway, chapter 28, verse 1. The wicked flee when no man pursueth, but the righteous are bold as a lion. For the transgression of a land, many are the princes thereof. But by a man of understanding and knowledge, the state thereof shall be prolonged. A poor man that oppresseth the poor is like a sweeping rain, which leaveth no food. They that forsake the law praise the wicked, but such as keep the law contend with them. Evil men understand not judgment, but they that seek the Lord understand all things. That's pretty amazing right there. Better is the poor that walketh in his uprightness than he that is perverse in his own ways,
Right.
though he be rich. Whoso keepeth the law is a wise son, but he that is a companion of riotous men shameth his father. He that by usury and unjust gain increaseth his substance, he shall gather it for him that will pity the poor. He that turneth away his ear from hearing the law, even his prayer shall be abomination. Whoso causeth the righteous to go astray in an evil way, he shall fall himself into his own pit. But the upright shall have good things in possession. The rich man is wise in his own conceit, but the poor that hath understanding searcheth him out. When righteous men do rejoice, there is great glory. But when the wicked rise, a man is hidden. He that covereth his sins shall not prosper, but whoso confesseth and forsaketh them shall have mercy. Happy is the man that feareth always, but he that hardeneth his heart shall fall into mischief.
Yeah. This is a good one. Proverbs 28. Finally, the prostitutes aren't chasing everybody around anymore.
No kidding. No prostitutes.
Boy, those girls got around back then, didn't they? Okay, this is the Living Bible. Proverbs 28, 1 through 14. The wicked flee when no one is chasing them, but the godly are bold as lions. When there is moral rot within a nation, its government topples easily. But with honest, sensible leaders, there is stability. Can somebody write a letter to Washington?
Now, we need to
Tell 'em.
send that verse to Congress.
Oh,
and the
boy.
president.
Oh, it's so true. When a poor man oppresses those even poorer, he is like an unexpected flood sweeping away their last hope. To complain about the law is to praise wickedness. To obey the law is to fight evil. Evil men don't understand the importance of justice, but those who follow the Lord are much concerned about it. Better to be poor and honest than rich and a cheater. Young men who are wise obey the law. A son who is a member of a lawless gang is a shame to his father. Income from exploiting the poor will end up in the hands of someone who pities them, the poor. God doesn't listen to the prayers of men who flout the law. A curse on those who lead astray the godly. But men who encourage the upright to do good shall be given a worthwhile reward. Rich men are conceited, but their real poverty is evident to the poor. When the godly are successful, everyone is glad. When the wicked succeed, everyone is sad. A man who refuses to admit his mistakes can never be successful. But if he confesses and forsakes them, he gets another chance. Blessed is the man who reveres God, but the man who doesn't care is headed for serious trouble. Says it all right there.
I know. The King James Version actually is pretty understandable in this situation because it obviously is reflected in the New Living Bible. But it's pretty understandable here. It's just in different terminology, which it usually is. But let's go back to verse 1. The wicked flee when no man pursueth, but the righteous are bold as a lion. In other words, the wicked have no substance or anything to believe in, so they just are in fear of everything.
Right.
You know, the righteous, like righteous Christians, have faith and trust in God. So.
And they're not wicked.
And they're not, obviously they're not wicked, but they have faith and trust in God. So they are bold. You know, they can stand up and say that God said this, God said that, this is the way it's going to be,
Right.
this is the way it
God
is.
promised this, God promised that.
And they believe that, and that is why they're bold.
That's why Christians can be bold.
And that's what we as Christians have to be, is bold. We have to speak up.
Yeah. You've got to
for our God. We have to defend. You know, we don't have to defend God because God can defend himself, but we have to relate to other people that God is in control, and admonish him as the great Alpha and Omega, the great I am, those type of things, you know, and the promises in his word that are true. So in other words, we have to be bold. We have to stand up and fight for what we know is right.
We have to speak the truth, even when it is politically incorrect. The truth is the truth.
Yeah.
All right, now number 2 is so happening right now in our nation. Oh my gosh, there is a war that has been totally financed by our government, giving billions of dollars to the most evil people on the planet. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. When there is moral rot, yes, and not only financing evil, there is so much moral rot right here in our own country. We've talked about it many times. So did we talk about that? When there is moral rot within a nation, and there is, its government topples. And why does the government topple? Because these immoral people, these godless people, put godless people in control of the nation. And without godly leadership, you're going to have moral rot. What do you think about that, Sideburns?
All you have to do is go back in the Word and look at the Israelites when they begged God for a king, you know. So why they did that, I have no idea, but they did. They, for some reason, thought they ought to have a king. Well, that's when all their troubles began to happen. You know, there are good kings and there are bad kings, and there were a lot of bad kings in those days, and they suffered tremendously because of that.
They sure do.
And that's what's happened to the United States right now.
Right.
Is we have ungodly people in our government right now that is running our
We have
government.
Muslims, don't even know our God, in our Congress.
Well,
We have entire cities that are Muslim. It's just shocking. We are a Christian nation. We're supposed to have Christian leaders. It's just so wrong.
That's why you see so many people in America, which is astounding to me, that they would support Hamas in this horrible war they're having with Israel right now. If you could even, I can't even comprehend that someone would even support them, and what they do.
Well, they believe the lie, and they, they tell them what they're doing, and they just refuse to believe it.
They're just blinded.
It's just awful.
Awful. Satan actually blinds them to the truth.
Yeah.
That's exactly what's happening. But anyway.
All right, let's go to 3. When a poor man oppresses those even poorer, he is like an unexpected flood sweeping away their last hope. Well, no wonder the poor man's poor to start with.
I don't know, I can't even think of a single example of that in my head right now, but anyway, I can understand how that could happen.
Well, they do. People who, these gangs, for instance, they will kill and rob and steal anybody, no matter if they're rich or poor or what.
That is true.
Yeah,
that's true.
And so they're poor to start with, and they get involved in these gangs to have, I guess, sort of a family. And then they just had somebody in the town Jerry grew up in. We just were shocked. Jerry grew up in this Wawoka?
I didn't grow up in Wawoka.
You grew up in Watonga. Where's Wawoka? By mom? By where mom? Okay, he grew up in Watonga, Wawoka. But it's by where my mom lived. And somebody got killed by a gang. Oh my goodness. As I remember, there's a lot of American Indians in that town. They had a lot of alcoholism.
Wawoka is a small country town.
Yeah, very small.
In central Oklahoma, or kind of western or eastern Oklahoma. And it's just a quiet, normal little town like any other little town in Oklahoma. But there seems to be gang activity going on there, and things that you would normally think would happen in a large city, which they do.
Yeah.
But now it's beginning to filter into the smaller communities.
Which is terrifying. Oh.
And I didn't read the whole story, but they set someone's house on fire there in Wawoka and burned it to the ground. So, I mean, even this stuff is beginning to come into the small towns now. But anyway.
All right, number 4. To complain about the law is to praise wickedness. To obey the law is to fight evil. So who is it who's ignoring our laws about building a wall and not letting people pour into our country that we don't know who they are, where they came from, what kind of gangs they're with, what kind of Hamas or whatever. They could be just anybody. And so our own government is not obeying our own laws. It's shocking. It says to obey the law is to fight evil.
Right, but it says here that they praise the wicked. Well, they're praising these people that are coming across the border, as being something, people that we should feel sorry for, and there is some truth to that.
And we have a legitimate, lawful way for that to be done.
Right.
It's not thousands pouring across daily.
Yeah.
And many, many, many are evil people bringing drugs, weapons, heaven only knows what. And our government just turns a blind eye to it. It is just shocking.
Verse 5, evil men understand not judgment, but they that seek the Lord understand all things.
Yeah.
It's very, very true. Evil men are blind to what's going on. It's just like the border crossing she's talking about. They're just blind to that kind of stuff. They don't want to deal with it, but yet
well, we had a president who did deal with it, but people, they figured out all kinds of ways to hate him instead of supporting the good things that he did.
Right.
I don't know who you put in there. There's no perfect man. And I, in particular, I don't care who they slept with 10 years ago or what they did with what wife or whose kid is what kid. I care about, do they love America? Are they Americans? Do they want our children to be taught American history or how a boy can be a girl and a girl can be a boy? Wake up, America. Let's get a man back in there. And I'm not saying him, but let's get some man back in there who, number one, is a Christian. And I don't know that that man is. But you know what they stand for and what their past has been and whether they love America or not. So, very, very, very important.
It ultimately comes down to how they treat their brothers.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm talking about men and women, and how they respect the men and women of this country. And I believe this particular person has the people at heart. I truly do. If you go back and look in biblical history, and Pastor Hagee talked about this morning in his sermon about the dysfunctional family in Genesis. You go from Genesis 11 or whatever it is, all the way through like 30 different chapters. It talks about the dysfunctional family of the Israelites.
Of so many of them. Well, and his message was, have you ever made a mistake? Have you ever made a horrible mistake in your life? And you're just stuck. You're just grounded. You're just out of commission because you can't get over this mistake. And you think God can't forgive you and God can't use you. And so he went through all the people in the Bible, and there's very many of them. And what horrible things they did. But, and this is referring back to the man we're talking about, our last president, God can do amazing things with these same people. No man is perfect.
No, and I mean, look what he did. Like I said, in the Bible, it talks about this,
Right.
about Abraham and Sarah and the weird things that went on with them, and and especially David.
Yeah.
And David is. It even says in the Word that David is a man after God's heart.
Yeah.
And look at the things that David did. I mean, and he kills probably his best soldier that he had.
Yeah.
Because he had an affair with his wife. He got her pregnant, and then he kills her husband, basically. Plots to kill him, and he actually did have him killed.
Yeah.
And then so on and so forth. But, you talk about stuff like that, and then Jacob and his children, they sold Joseph. His brothers sold Joseph to some people. And then they took Joseph
Put
to
him in a pit,
Egypt.
went and told the dad that he was killed by a lion.
Yeah, all these kind of things went on in this family, and then they sell him and he goes to Egypt and he actually saves the world eventually.
Yeah, and then he gets accused of raping a woman
Yeah,
he never touched.
Right.
It's
All those kind of things went on in the Bible, and this is what kind of is happening to this one particular person now. All these things are happening.
Yeah, that's true. Talking about our last president.
These are just people that, you revere in the Word, but these are people that have screwed up.
Yeah, how about St. Paul?
Yeah.
All right, let's get on with this. Number 6, better to be poor and honest than rich and a cheater. That's pretty self-explanatory. Number 7.
You're going to reap what you sow. Okay? If you're dishonest, you're going to reap dishonesty. You're going to get your stuff taken away from you through dishonesty and whatever. So that's true.
Number 7, young men who are wise obey the law. A son who is a member of a lawless gang is a shame to his father. Now, I am just shocked that back here in the Old Testament, in Solomon's day, they had lawless gangs.
You're shocked.
Boy, has that just been going on forever?
People are people, regardless, when they were born, what time of the world they lived in. But verse 8, he that by usury and unjust gain increaseth his substance, he shall gather it for him that will pity the poor.
Mine's easier to understand. Income from exploiting the poor will end up in the hands of someone who pities the poor. And that's wonderful to know right there.
Yeah.
God doesn't listen to the prayers of men who flout the law. Now listen, that is a serious, serious thing right there. God can't hear you. You could pray all day long. God isn't going to hear you if you don't obey the law. My goodness, people, wake up. You cannot live both ways. You can't say, I'm a Christian and I love God, and then here on the other hand, you belong to a lawless gang or whatever,
Well, God actually hears the prayer, but he doesn't act on it.
It says he doesn't listen to it. So he hears it, but he doesn't pay any attention to it.
He doesn't pay any attention to it. He hears it, but he doesn't It's not going to go anywhere or do
Yeah,
anything.
it's like, get your act together and then come pray to me.
Yeah.
A curse on those who lead astray the godly. Yeah. But the Bible doesn't say yeah. That's joy. But men who encourage the upright to do good shall be given a worthwhile reward. That's right. Encourage the upright.
Right.
I don't get the next one that says rich men are conceited. I don't think all rich men are conceited.
A lot of them are.
But their real poverty is evident to the poor. I think that should say some rich men are conceited, but their real poverty is evident to the poor. I worked for a boss once who was very well off at the time. It was an oil company, and they had a well come in super, super, super big time, and they made millions. And he and his partner, who I worked for, both of them, their pictures were on the front page of the Wall Street Journal. I mean, that's how big a deal it was. But this man came into my office, and I don't know how I saw this. I don't know how I saw the bottom of his shoe, but he had holes in his shoes. If you had met that man on the street, you would have never, ever known how much he was worth. He was just the most humble man, he really was. And then his partner was the complete opposite. You know, had a private plane, had a pilot that flew it around, and he wanted everybody to know it, and had a girlfriend that was half his age. Totally, totally different, but both rich men. So I'm just saying not all men are conceited, okay?
No, a lot of them are.
Yeah. Rich men are conceited, but their real poverty is evident to the poor. And in my opinion, their real poverty is they don't know the Lord. Because if they knew the Lord, even though they were very rich men, they would be giving men and helping the poor, and not conceited. When the godly are successful, everyone is glad. When the wicked succeed, everyone is sad. Now that's pretty obvious what that means. That was number 12. Honey, read 13. What have we got in your version of 13?
He that covereth his sins shall not prosper, but whoso confesseth and forsaketh them shall have mercy.
Yes. This was Hagee's message this morning about getting over things that happened in the past. And if you're one of these people who grew up with an alcoholic father or an alcoholic mother, or a father that left when you were a kid and a mother that was a wicked monster, whatever, you have to leave that in the past. You have to see your relationship between you and a God who created you, a God who loves you, Jesus who died for you, the Holy Spirit, and you have to get a relationship with them and not live in the past. There's an awful lot of young people who have grown up in very bad situations, for sure. But you have to get a new idea of who you are and where your hope lies, and who can help you get ahead in this world, irregardless or regardless, I think they mean the same thing, of what happened in your past. And that is something that's hard for a young person to really grasp and learn. And so many times, that's what happened to my first husband, so many times the person that grows up in that situation turns into their father or their mother. And that's what happened to my first husband. Hated his father. His father was a mean alcoholic, a mean drunk, always hitting his wife, called my first husband the son of Satan. He was a very mean man. And my first husband, his name was Philip, he hated his father. Hated him with a passion. Hated him so much he didn't even go to his funeral when he died. And he went to a church. He was a Christian. He went to a church. When I married him, he was a Christian. We both went to church. But he turned into his father. Mean, alcoholic, addicted to so many things. And it was just the saddest story. And died years ago in the same condition. So at some point, hopefully God will arrange for these young people to grow up like that, to hear the gospel, and to be able to be set free from the hatred, be able to forgive these parents, and it can just change their whole existence. What do you think?
Well, this comes down to believing the Word. If you don't know the Word, if you don't understand the Word, you're going to be led astray by that kind of stuff. And, it all comes back to you as an individual, you are your own self once you reach an age where you can make decisions on your own and
That's
those
right.
types of things.
Yeah.
The age of responsibility, or whatever you want to call it, and that varies in different people. Some people don't ever reach that age, but
Yeah. And if you choose to change, you choose to be the person God created you to be, not this person who grew up in a messed up home.
so yeah, you grow up in a messed up home. Everybody grows up in somewhat of a messed up home. I was talking about
Well,
dysfunctional.
you've got 2 alcoholic brothers, but look at you, complete opposite.
Well, I'm just saying, everybody has a dysfunctional family
Yeah.
to a certain extent. Nobody has
Yeah,
a
because
perfect
they're
family.
raised by people.
That's right. And so look at all the dysfunctional families in the Word.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
And they
Oh.
don't understand covering your own sins. They lie. They don't face the fact that they did these things. And they don't understand confession. Okay? They don't understand forgiveness.
Yeah, number 13. A man who refuses to admit his mistakes can never be successful.
Right, and there are a lot of people that don't do that. They can't do that because...
Well, it
number one,
says, but if he confesses and forsakes them.
That's correct.
All right, there's the secret.
That's
and
correct.
so we just pray that these people hear this, receive it, understand it, and choose to be different than their parents were.
But they need to be taught, and it's taught right here.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where you learn this
That's
kind
right.
of stuff.
That's
You
where I
got
learned
to,
it.
That's right.
That's where you learned it
that's
when we were
right.
teenagers.
And a lot of people don't even want to go here.
Yeah.
They just don't even look at this.
Yeah, we made the choice when we were young to live by it. Not just have grown up in a church. He grew up in one religion, I grew up in a different one. But hey, let's figure out what it says for ourself. And we're going to live by what it says.
Right, you have to understand.
Right.
Otherwise, you won't. All these other things you talk about, being unsuccessful, losing everything you have, all those types of things will happen to you.
That's right.
Unless you learn in God's Word how to overcome those things and
right.
live the type of life God wants you to live
That's right.
and bless you through all that, They don't understand that. They don't even know
They
about
don't.
it.
They don't. Their mind doesn't go there.
They don't, well, their mind
Even
doesn't
if they hear it. Your brothers heard the gospel. Your mother used
Well,
to drag
Donnie
them to conferences.
My youngest
Oh,
brother did.
yes, she did. She drugged Donnie down there to that Kenneth Copeland conference.
Well, I know.
And he said, oh, you're just asking for money to buy a new car. Oh, that stuff's just all trash. They just want your money so they can buy a plane.
Well, that's true.
He took it totally wrong. He heard it. He heard it. He heard it for years from Jerry. He heard it from his mother. And some of them, they just choose. They choose wrong. All right. The last verse says it all. Blessed is the man who reveres God, but the man who doesn't revere God is headed for serious trouble. There you go. There you go.
It's as plain and simple as that. If you don't, you can read this, but if you don't believe it and live by it, it's not going to do you one bit of good.
And if you're keeping your eyes on the preacher or on the men, like Donnie did, oh, they're asking for that money. They already have a plane. They're just go out there and buy another plane. Men are always going to disappoint. My daddy said, don't put anybody on a pedestal but Jesus. He said, you ever put a human being on a pedestal, you're going to be disappointed because they are human. So, he chose to look at the wrong thing. And believe me, you can. But as a Christian, as Jerry says, we're leaving here. We're not going here anymore. I don't trust what this man says. I don't trust how he lives. And you can leave. You can go someplace else, You don't have to stay there.
But you have to know the difference
Yeah.
between what they're preaching to you and
Right.
what's in the Word.
Because not every preacher is a godly man. There's a lot of them that are in it just for the money.
If you don't sit down and read this book and learn this stuff through this, you can be so misled in the world. And that's why so many people are so misled in the world, because number one, they watch TV every day.
And they believe whatever they hear on the
And-
fake news.
I mean, there's all kinds of corruption and plainly crap out there.
Crap.
Yes, crap is what it is.
I don't think we're supposed to have that word on Shine.
Oh, it's the truth.
This is
It
Shine.
could be worse. But that's what it is. You just have to call a spade a spade.
It's deceit. It's
It's
deceit.
deceit.
Because the
It's-
devil That's what he does, is he deceives people. That's what it is. It's
like
deceit from the pit of hell.
It's like the war going on between Israel and Hamas right now. So many people are deceived by the fact that they think that the Israelites are whatever to the Palestinians.
They stole the land or something. They didn't steal it. God gave it to them.
That's correct.
God gave them that land. And you don't mess with God. God's going to come in there and take care of that. The Bible says so.
Well, it was the Israelites' fault to begin with because they didn't obey God.
They didn't serve God. They didn't accept His Son.
You know, and they allowed all that stuff to come in because they intermarried with all these people. They did all those things God told them not to do. Yeah, I know. That's
way back.
That's a whole
But that's
story.
true.
That's how all this stuff got in there to begin with.
And everything that's happening right now, it says, because you didn't revere me, because you didn't obey me, this is what's going to happen. Not because God hates them and God's making it happen. They made it happen.
Right.
This is Old Testament. They had this book.
And here we go back again on the scripture of my people
Yeah.
who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and confess their sins. Then I will heal their land. Okay, it all comes back to that. And the same principle as today. God will heal this land if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray. And that's you and I,
You
the Christians that are in this world. If we will humble ourselves and pray, then God will heal our land. And if you put faith and trust in that and do it, then it'll happen.
Very true. Very true. So, pray for the peace of Israel and be sure you are connected to our holy, mighty, awesome God and ask Him to forgive you if you have mistakes. If you've done some things wrong, just ask Him to forgive you. It's like Hagee said this morning. Our pastor is Pastor John Hagee and his son Matthew Hagee in San Antonio at Cornerstone. And he said he prays every night, Father, please forgive me for this, 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 and this that he knows he's done, and please forgive me for the things I don't even know I did. So, yeah, just ask for forgiveness every day. It's so nice to start out in the morning with a clean slate between you and God and no issues clogging the reception.
Yeah. Everybody struggles with sin because you're born into a sinful world. You're just born into it.
Yeah.
I mean, you have no choice when it comes to that. But it's how you react to that that makes the difference.
Hagee said he has issues with some traffic on some highway. It just drives him crazy. So that would be his sin. Okay, we've got to wrap this up, my dear. And we'll be back next Sunday. Really, this has our camera is still running and it hasn't crashed. So this is a real good time to say goodbye.
Or we'll be doing this next Sunday again. Anyway, y'all have a blessed week, and we'll say goodbye for now. And God bless every one of you. We appreciate you. We love you, and we hope that what we try to get across to you is helping you, and so on and so forth. Because that's our ultimate goal. Yeah. I mean, we don't ask for money or any of that kind of stuff. We don't need to do all that. God supplies us with everything we need. Okay, and He always has and always will. We're not like your normal, sometimes Christian pastors or preachers or whatever asking for money. We never do that. No. We don't need that, you know. I mean, God.
No, we're not here for that reason. We're here because God told me to start a channel and call it Shine. So,
and we're just here
being obedient to God. And now you're talking too long again.
I know.
Somebody said have Jerry make a channel called Advice from Jerry. Or Tips from Jerry or something.
I know.
All right. I'm going to say goodbye for real. We love you. We'll be back next week.
Bye, guys.